So here we are, and this is what you should see when you first turn your GPS on. Sometimes you are very likely to see one of these pages, either the navigation pages or the flight plan pages. We'll go back to this in a minute. Let us now take a tour of the interface itself. All right. So the GPS has major areas that you need to be aware of. Here is the display screen, and it has 1, 2, 3, 4 lines, and it's split into 2 sections. On the left-hand side, you'll always have this that shows you how many nautical miles you are away from the point that you're flying to, which is the active point. It will also, in flight, it will show you your ground speed. That's important. That's your ground speed, which may or may not match your indicated airspeed. This is your ground speed. Line 3 of the small section on the left will show you which mode you're in. The GPS could be in leg mode or OBS mode. And the 4th line tells you which chapter, in this case it's airport, and which page of that chapter you're in. In this case it's number 1. And on the right-hand side, you will see values for page 1. In this case, we are talking about an airport. Our airport identifier is Kilo Oscar Romeo Delta. In this case, we're talking about Chicago O'Hare Airport in Chicago. Identifier Kilo Oscar Romeo Delta. And on the right-hand side, it shows you the altitude. This airport is located at 670 feet. All right. The name is Chicago O'Hare. It is in Chicago, the city, in the state of Illinois. Now, to go to page 2, we simply turn the inner knob to the right. We continue learning more about O'Hare. Here's the identifier. It tells us the latitude and longitude. It tells us from where we are, if we want to get to it, we use 170 radial 2 or bearing 2, and it is located 124 nautical miles away from our present position. If we go to the next page, page 3, tells you the universal time is a -6 or -5 hours daytime. And you can find jet fuel, 100 low lead fuels. It has ILS approaches, and it does have GPS RNAV approaches. If you go to page number 4, and in this case, if you instead of using the dial and only in the simulator, I can use the right button to go to page 4. These buttons are not available to you in the airplane. You will have to use the knobs. These 2 will equate to the inner knob. These 2 will equate to the larger knob. So we are on page 4. First thing you would notice on page 4 is the plus sign. What that says, in chapter airport, page 4 has more information than can fit on 4 lines. So it has a plus sign next to it. What that means is as you turn the page, the number would remain number 4. So we have 4 pages worth of information under page number 4. So page number 4 tells us the runways, and in this case 14R and 32L. That runway is 13,000 feet with hard surface, and it has lighting. Next, runway 09R and 27L. Of course, R and L stands for right and left. And this runway is 10,141 feet. Also has hard surface and lighting. Now, not every airport would have multiple pages of page number 4. This happens to be a huge airport and has multiple runways. And I go to the next page 4. I have more runways. I'll let you read these. It's the same thing. The number of the runway, the length of the runway, the surface type, and whether it has lighting or not. And as we move on to page number 5, now you see the radio frequencies available at that airport. Notice also that page 5 has plus sign next to it, means there are more radio frequencies to be listed than can fit on one page. So here's your O'Hare Airport ATIS. You can get that at 135.40, or the pre-taxi is 121.60. And this comes in handy when you have the GPS up and running and you find your airport. Then you can turn to this page and set your radios in the airplane for whichever radio frequency you want to set them to. So on and so forth. And then remarks. This is something you can enter yourself by turning the cursor on and the big knob until you get to remarks. And you can simply start typing whatever you want to. These are your own remarks that would make sense only to you. As we go to page number 7, now you start looking at SID and STAR. SID, Standard Instrument Departure, and STAR, I believe, Standard Terminal Arrival Routes, or something like that. And it says in this case, and remember this is a simulator, no SID or STAR in database for this airport. In fact, in your aircraft, that GPS, a more updated database, you might very well have a SID or STAR for that airport that you're dealing with. On page 8, this is where you'll find the instrument approach procedures. And in this case, we have multiples. Number 1 is an NDB approach for runway 14 left. Number 2 is an NDB approach for runway 27 right. And the way you get to these is you can click the cursor and it highlights for you the approaches. And you can use the big cursor, right or left, to scroll up and down. And once you find the one you want, you can hit enter. Before we hit enter, let's see if we have more than 3. Okay, for this sample database, they only included 3 approaches. In real GPS, you're very likely to see more. But let's say we select one by turning the cursor, moving the knob until one of them is highlighted, and then I would hit enter. What that does, it shows you all the points, waypoints involved in that approach. And I would first thing do, repeat. And the first thing I would do is scroll up until I get to number 1 and look at, in this case, PAPI, and look at the letter added to the waypoint PAPI. This lowercase I signifies that this is the initial approach. This is the initial point for that approach. And that's what they call IAF, Initial Approach Fix. That is signified by this letter I. If I go down, and before I do that, let me show you. It says 1, but then it says 8. So that is a clear signal to you that there are more points between 1 and 8. And to do that, and while the cursor is flashing, use the outer knob and scroll down. Here's number 2. That's waypoint number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Notice waypoint number 6 has a lowercase f as compared to the uppercase for the waypoint itself. So the lowercase f signifies, you guessed it, final fix. That's a final approach fix. Number 7 is the missed approach point, and in this case it signifies MA is missed approach, and runway 22R, which is exactly what the name of the approach is. And then OBK has the lowercase h next to it, and that signifies it's the holding pattern. So between the missed approach, which is number 7, and number 8 is where you go if you execute missed approach. Okay, repeat. Number 7, we talked about that. Now start 8. Now, waypoint number 8 is simply the holding pattern, which is signified by the lowercase h in here. When you execute your missed approach, you need to go to Oscar Bravo Kilo, and that, of course, goes hand in hand with the instrument approach plate itself that will tell you how to execute the missed approach. And if we like what we see, we scroll down with the outer knob, turn to the right, scroll down to add to flight plan 0, and if you do want to add it to your flight plan, you can hit enter. And notice by doing that, it automatically flipped to the flight plan and showed me the flight plan itself. Before we go into flight plan details, I want to go back to airport. And again, I can switch between chapters here simply by turning the outer knob left or right. So to summarize, this is page 8. And if I go with the inner knob one more to the right, notice that it cycles back to page number 1. And this concludes this chapter on airport and all its pages.